How's it going, everybody? Today we're going to be going into a few god rolls for the mountaintop, and believe it or not, the god roll mountaintop is probably not what you're expecting it to be. I got a lot of rolls here, none of which are, well, hold up. This one is the god roll. Let me just take that back right now. But the rest of these are just rolls that have perks on them, just so I could have tinkered around a little bit and just get a good feel for this weapon. Now, I got some bad news about this weapon. So back in the day, this weapon used to be a top contender for an ad clear weapon, but now since its splash damage has been nerfed, this was actually way back when it was actually sunsetted or just sunsetted. It got its blast radius reduced due to PvP issues, but that definitely translates to now. So in terms of ad clearing, it's not the best weapon anymore. But then again, that's probably for the best, saying that waveframes would be a tough competition to compete with to begin with for an ad clear grenade launcher. So this is through and through either a movement tech weapon or a boss damage swap weapon. And if you were to get your hands on the boss damage swap weapon, that's pretty much just your movement tech weapon as well. Now, rejoice everybody, for you no longer need to spire farm anymore. I did testing with Wilder Flight, though this one is not the god roll. Obviously, I'm missing Vorpal. It is tough competition regardless for mountaintop. So my mountaintop as well doesn't have Vorpal, and I definitely made sure that recombination was not proc just so I can get the base damage. So we're dealing with two high velocity grenade launchers that have spike grenades on it. So that is what the testing went into. I'm gonna be showing you on screen right now just how I got the numbers. It was in a lost sector of Europa, just a quick boss. Tap him a couple times, make sure the numbers are consistent, and then move on. But then I made the sheet here that I want to go into. So Wilder Flight base damage, I just added up all the numbers and we got 41,000, and mountaintop base damage would be just 48,000. So already just off of base, we're doing way more numbers. Of course, my Wilder did not have Vorpal, but Mountaintop did not either. Both had boss spec, both had high velocity. Just so I could show you real quick, this is my roll for it. It does have 100 velocity, so it does have a little bit more edge in that area. But even with that edge, it doesn't really come close to Mountaintop, surprisingly enough. So based off that alone, I would say call it a day. You no longer need to farm Spire of the Watcher for a god roll Wilder Flight. Just get a god roll Mountaintop and just make it that one. It leaves room for your elemental based weapons. So if like you're a Gerfalcon's Hunter, you can roll a Void primary just to have volatile rounds, or if you're on solar, you can have your Callus mini tool, stuff like that. So rejoice to Mountaintop, for it frees up our slot for our weapons that have subclass synergy to them. Now, when it comes to recombination, we have a bit of a discrepancy in our backlogs, as one would say. When you go over here and you max it out to 10 stacks, it says 50% increase impact damage, right? Now, since the damage is divided in half, you have the explosion damage and the impact damage, you would think that this is less than 50 overall damage. But doing the math going in, so I got the recombination damage right here when I went into the Europa lost sector. Then I got the base damage without recombination. Of course, both of these had the spike and boss spec to them. I'll show you the video right now. I literally just shot him once, and without any hesitation again, I just shot him again. So when it comes to doing the math, all I did was I took the base damage, added it to itself, and you get pretty much close to double damage. It's not quite there, but it's enough to say that, yeah, it's double. So instead of saying 50% increase in impact damage, it really should just say 100% increase in damage, because that's all that really is. Now, with this set, this brings the odd area that recombination is actually the role that you want to go for. Since I'm keeping in mind that this will be a boss swap weapon, I made this over here. So we got two totals. Right now, recombination is only 1,000 damage higher. I used these values over here. I used 46,000 as the base, and then I just did the 0.15 to get Vorpal / Frenzy damage buff, and then I just added it to the base, pretty much. So on recombination, if you were to shoot up to 7 shots total in rotations to a damage phase, if you shoot 7 or less, you will be doing more damage than Vorpal. Of course, the less rotations you do, the more impactful recombination will be. The numbers will just get further and further away from each other. It was at 1,000 difference, and now it's at like 20,000 difference, or a little less than that. Now, in a world where you were to get 8 grenade swaps out, oh, that is not the right one. In a world where you meet a damage phase where you actually get 8 grenade swaps out, then you will be doing more than the recombination roll. I don't think I've ever seen a damage phase where you are spamming this much grenade. So when I want to talk about this weapon as a boss swap damage weapon, more than most times it will be with a rocket. You can do it with a grenade launcher. You can also do it with whatever you want. I think the main principle is that you'll just be swapping to this in comparison to swapping back to a heavy or another special, something like that. And I don't think I can think of a boss damage phase where you are in there for this long and you're doing 8 grenade swaps at a time. But if you find one, definitely go for the Vorpal or Frenzy roll. You'll just net more damage. And after the 8 shots, anything more, and then the distance just gets more and more away from recombination. So that's all I wanted to talk about there. In terms of peak damage, you want recombination for your boss phases, auto-loading holster, obviously. And recombination really did kind of just kill the rest of the competition for me. That's with the fact that this weapon does very poor ad clear. It does great single target damage, so your yellow bars, your champs, your bosses, definitely use a mountaintop. But if you're going for ad clear, unfortunately, I have to say, even with like a maxed out blast radius mountaintop, you're not doing much. It's just kind of unfortunate. But then again, we have waveframes for ad clear. Now, with respect to the fact that this weapon kind of just got kicked out of the ad clear idea, we went from so many god rolls to really just one. Lead from gold would have been awesome with all for one. Vorpal would have been awesome. Frenzy would have been awesome. Demo could be cool. Ambitious Assassin would have been just pretty much Forbearance Reincarnate, but not a wave frame. But yeah, like I said, not a good ad clear weapon, so stick right here. I can't justify any other reason to think that you would want any other perk on this. Of course, each their own. Do what you want with this own weapon. Of course, Spike is the only good option here, unless you're trying to do some like solo caretaker. Sticky nades is the move for you. But you have the curated roll back from when it was sunsetted for that one if you need it. Now, the absolute fun thing that you can do with this weapon, of course, would be that it has intrinsic rocket jump. And by God, does this thing actually go high. Of course, the OG one did get this intrinsically, so I'm sure you've already seen all the videos about it. But this is definitely something that you should try out. Matter of fact, one of my friends did tell me to try it out when you are shatter skating. So I'm gonna give that a go right now. Well, it's nice. It's nice, but I don't see it being too much of a thing that I'm gonna use, but by God, is it definitely fun. It's pretty much all I wanted to talk about, so I will give you guys some time back in your day. Definitely go and farm this one, but yeah, definitely look out for this roll, recombination and auto-loading. Boss meta, this is the one. If you're still gonna go the ad clear route or whatever you want, Frenzy Vorpal, doing in like GMs or whatnot, go for it. Don't let me stop you. I'm not saying it's a bad roll. I'm just saying that if you want the most optimal damage, this is your gun right here. Optimal damage for like raid bosses. I'm not talking about like champs, though this thing with a single shot would actually kill a champ. All right, take care. Peace.